And all the music just makes me want to party.
Oh, it makes me want to go to sleep. But I'm weird that way. I know.
This is like some Blade shit, though. This is like, this is like
It's
what's
true.
going on in the Blade Club. Club Blade. Is Sewong saying gasp? Because he's like, oh, they started at 6 today?
Sewong.
Sewong. If there are no haters around, there's always Sewong. We love you, Sewong. We love you.
We do. Oh man. I mean, this is good stuff. I said I could fall asleep to this. I can see this just like on a screen with like a screensaver going and just relaxing.
It's more like Matrix shit. This is like the kind of thing that like Neo was probably listening to at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it's possible. Very possible.
Take the red pill. Take the blue pill. I would rather not take the red pill.
I mean, in fairness, one was Dayquil, one was Nyquil. So if you want to be awake or drowsy, those are your two options.
It's true. It's true. All right, let's get this show on the road. Let's do this. I fixed the theme, by the way.
Distance nerding.
Hey! What's up, everybody?
I mean, the sun's not ablaze behind you tonight.
I know, right? Ladies and gentlemen, back from the depths of hell. I mean, the blazing sun. I mean, I don't know.
It's okay.
You are now watching The Build. It is Thursday. We've got more stuff to build. We've got guests to talk to. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into this. Let's talk about who keeps the lights on. Ladies and gentlemen, this show. Well, actually, no, I'm jumping right into it. I'm jumping too fast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your boy, Young Phil. And sitting right next to me here is the most handsome beard attached to the baldest man on the internet.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Graveyard.
I'll take it. The ballast man on the internet. Sure, why not?
No, the baldest man on the internet is gonna be. Have you seen the videos of the dude who like he's got alopecia, and his brother will throw like the suction darts at him?
Yep.
Yeah, that guy's the baldest guy on the internet, and he is hilarious.
I wish I could have that trophy. I'll have to find it and then glue some hair to his head so I can be the baldest guy in there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we will get into it. The sponsors of the show, of course, who keeps the lights on for us, ladies and gentlemen. This show is brought to you by the good folks over at I say because
you pooped your pants. I understand.
Yeah, exactly. No, because I just redid the soundboard and now I don't know where anything's at. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is brought to you by the good folks over at Debbie. There we go. Debbie is brought to you.
It sounds a little sick there.
Yeah, I know. Debbie is a brand of energy drinks created to help focus concentration, reaction time with no jitters or crash. Debbie contains no maltodextrin, no sugars, no fillers, no artificial colors or dyes. Find out more about Debbie at www.debbie.gg. Use the code NERDING10 and get 10% off your order. Yeah, I just did that. The new soundboard has just the sound, right? So that right there. But I can do it as much as I want. So I go.
Okay. That won't get annoying.
No, not at all. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let's get this show on the road. This week's guests are indie creators who created a new board game and here to talk about their awesome concept because I went deep and tried to find every video I could and everything like that. It's a pretty awesome game. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Omar Sadek and Sean Cohen.
Hey,
What an intro. Thank you.
man, wish we had a soundboard like that.
I know, right? The soundboard makes the entire show.
It's not us. It's just the soundboard.
Definitely not going to be good.
It's, hey, Omar and Sean from Raging Kingdoms.
We love hearing our fans cheering.
Exactly. Actually, I do have an applause here. Where's it at?
Those are. There you go. The first applause was all of 15 of James's kids, one of her co-host kids, just cheering and applauding.
It's so bad that I have this, and I mean, it gets way worse. I have.
Get your special sock out, nerds. It's gonna get good.
Maximum effort. I will shoot your fucking head.
I'm Batman. It's just things like that. It's kind of nerds we are, right?
It gets better and better. It's great.
You wield a lot of power with that. Be careful.
With great responsibility comes idiocy. So, gents, let's jump right into this. So before we get into your story, before we learn more about like everything that you guys do here, I've got some questions for you guys, just so the audience can kind of get to learn who you guys are and what you guys, what makes you you, right? So if a movie was based on each of your lives, who would play you and why?
Oh man,
You go first, Sean.
Adrian Brody. He was in The Pianist, right? I think. So I play piano. He's kind of like a skimpy guy, like I am. Like his acting, he'd play me.
Nice.
Okay.
Very nice. Well, one thing that we have in common is we play piano. So can I steal his answer or?
It's just like the only answer is piano.
Adrian Brody and Adrian Brody and.
Adrian Brody is pianist.
No, it's just every character is Adrian Brody. Everyone in your life is just him.
Oh God, that like including like young girls and just
Dogs.
everybody, dogs. Yeah, it's all Adrian Brody. Like Adrian Brody wearing a dog suit.
Yes.
He just like walks in. He looks like Barf, and he's just like woof.
2025, anything can happen, right? It could be anything. That's great.
Absolutely,
It saves on cost, right? You only have to worry about one actor.
exactly. You have to pay him. I guess the union would be like, no, you have to pay him for every character he plays.
Well, if he's in a dog costume, do you pay him as a human or as a dog? I guess that's the question.
That's true.
I mean, he's a method actor, right? So he'd only accept dog treats as the dog.
I will only be paid in begging strips.
Exactly.
Right. You have to really embody the role
Yeah,
if you want to be a
for
good
sure,
actor.
for
So.
sure.
Only begging strips. It's bacon.
Now, do you guys envision it to be like drama, a comedy, a satirical mockumentary?
Henry, 100%.
A lot of satire.
Yeah, I think so.
So the two of us have been friends for a long time. So I think
Yeah, satirical mockumentary.
a lot
I
of
think.
the highlights of your movie and my
Yeah.
movie would probably there'd be
Like
some
merge.
plagiarism between
Yeah.
the two movies.
but part of the same universe for sure.
It's one of the. I feel like you guys are going to be like the Beatles movie, where like it's like in the same month, both of your movies come out at the same time, and there's some overlapping scenes.
Exactly. We also love efficiency, so we just borrow from each other.
Sure.
Well, what you do is you shoot the same movie, but from two different cameras.
Yeah.
And one is Omar's angle, the other one
Yep.
is Sean's angle.
Yep. Different perspectives. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Totally.
It's a good idea for us. If the board game doesn't work out.
Exactly. What's the filmmaking?
Well, we'll save that for for your board games movie when it eventually comes out with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson.
Right.
Oh my God, Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. That is the perfect casting, man. Well, it's an RTS. Wow.
I mean, Robot Chicken did steal that of the Shoots the Ladder game. That it was Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson.
Oh my God. So with that being said,
Well, hang on. How about you guys?
oh,
Do you have answers for these questions, or
we already know who my answer is.
you want
Graveyard.
to bully your viewers if they've heard you say this before? But
I
I'm
know,
curious.
right? Graveyard, because yours is significantly more interesting than mine.
You want me to go first?
Yes, sir.
Oh, mine is going to be every person playing every potential role. So it's going to be a story about me, but I'm going to have Stallone play my sister at age 8. I'm going to have just doesn't matter age or gender or race, just to play me, and just no commentary made about it, straight face the entire time. I want Chris Rock to play the 10-year-old version of me. And just be straight faced the entire time. I'd never call it out.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
It would be so confusing just because, it's like, okay, so is Chris Rock the 5-year-old version of him? Or
Like I said, if I was able to get if Doris Leachman was alive, I'd want her to play the 15-year-old version of me with a fake beard.
And would we be watching fantasy, science fiction?
Oh, you won't know. It'll go across every genre. Every scene will be
Every
different
genre.
genre too.
yeah, no, it's a horror movie for sure.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love horror movies.
Yeah.
So
He
Young
loves
Phil?
horror movies, and horror movies love him. I would be played by Ryan Reynolds in a fat suit.
Okay.
So think Just Friends.
Exactly.
Well, we are Canadian, so some respect there.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's he's a Canadian treasure.
One of many.
One of many, exactly.
There's at least 2 more.
I mean, you gotta remember. Let's just throw this out there. I mean, John Candy comes from the land of, or came from the land of Canada.
Richard Dean Anderson. Come on, MacGyver himself.
Oh man, just
Awesome.
some of the greatest actors ever to do the thing. Who also, and this is a shout out to Graveyard here, who also a lot of them got their start at Second City in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of them are from Canada.
Yeah.
Well, we foster talent here. In place. When you spend, your lives drinking maple syrup and going dog sledding, it really inspires a lot of creativity.
Hanging out in the city that rhymes with fun. Remember, it's from Regina, Saskatchewan.
Oh man. Well, we also have a segment about growing up geeky, and we are geeks. We will adhere to that all day. What do you guys grow up on that's geeky for you,
Geeky for me.
or what you geeked out on as a kid?
Yeah,
Looks like
I
you
would-
beat
I
the
would
piano.
say-
I would say a lot of computer games for me. I was never much into the consoles as much as the computer games.
Okay.
And
So PC
so,
Master Race is what we're saying right here.
yeah. I remember, the Civilization games. Obviously, all the RTS games. We'll probably get into that later.
Mhm.
And Roller Coaster Tycoon. I got really excited when that showed up in my cereal box. And,
Oh
Yeah.
my God, you're bringing it back. I think there are some Gen Zs here that 100% do not understand the concept of a game came in my cereal box.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a damn shame.
That was literally on the quiz I took with my wife last night. Stuff that only 80s and 90s kids remember. And it's like, why are people so excited to get the new box of cereal? I'm like, is that not a thing anymore? There's no longer a prize in the cereal.
Right. What's the point?
Did you guys all play Chex Man?
I did not.
It was like Doom for kids. It was great.
No, I mean, I think I played Doom as a kid, but no, just went straight to it. Yeah.
When I say it was great, because it came in a box of Chex, right?
Mhm.
When I say it was great, I
Oh,
mean,
wait, okay.
yeah.
I don't know. Do we have checks up here?
I don't think they made it that far north. I don't know.
I'm not sure if we have checks. Maybe.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Isn't
And
checks
maybe
like
we
kind of
don't
a
have
boring
fun cereal.
a bit? I don't know.
How do you eat puppy chow then? I don't eat it because it's chocolate. It's just puppy chow is just basically chocolate covered Chex and pretzels.
Oh man, yeah, we don't have options like that up here. Bit of chocolate, but
I mean, you guys are busy fighting off the mooses all the time. I understand.
yeah. We have Musso cereal. Shaped
Oh,
like mooses.
unfamiliar with that one.
Is it made from real mooses?
Oh. They don't tell you.
Okay.
We don't ask.
Musos made from factories that use moose labor. The common misconception is that Canadians are wimps. It's not, because you can tame a fucking moose.
That's right. Polar bears too.
Yeah.
Polar bears, you know,
Lots of
and
things up
then
there.
Mounties sit on them.
They ride them. That's right.
So, Omar, what was you talk about Roller Coaster Tycoon? What was your favorite PC game then?
I went through some phases, I'll say. Do I have to pick just one? Because I can remember really getting into Civilization at one point. I was getting into I went in deep into Battlefield 1942. You guys remember that one? That was a good time. And then all in the RTS genre, I'd say kind of the one that I keep going back to is Age of Empires. Yeah,
Yeah,
Age
I
of
was
Empires for sure
Command
holds a special place in my heart, I'd say.
I was a Command and Conquer guy, and it was funny. I took a break in playing RTSs for a while. And I remember when I got back into playing RTSs, like by that point, Warcraft 2 and Red Alert had come out, and people were all over Red Alert and just like, it's the most amazing game ever. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't play this until I was like, way later on.
Yeah.
I was Warcraft and StarCraft.
StarCraft for sure. I mean, I did play StarCraft, which is like, again, arguably one of the greatest RTS games to ever exist.
For sure.
So what about you, Sean? What did you geek out on as a kid?
Yeah, so I mean, I like some of the same games Omar did, but I'll take it in another direction. I geeked out. I'm like a synth head, so I really geeked out on like synth gear, musical gear, that sort of stuff. Especially as I got a bit older and was able to buy some of this stuff, but still do.
Okay.
You should see he like in his place. Usually the master bedroom is meant for the bedroom. No, the biggest room in that place is dedicated to housing probably at least 12 synthesizers, different keyboards. Yeah. Sean, why do you need this one when you have that one? Well, this one was...
It's all got a purpose, right?
They're like, no one else could hear the difference.
Sometimes it's a Battlefield 1942 day. Sometimes it's an Age of Empires day. You need variety. Right?
I don't blame him.
So do you work in the... do you do music at all?
Just as a passion project. Both of us are, very passionate about music. We make it, we write it, but no, not my day gig, that's for sure.
Okay, I thought maybe you're a Nine Inch Nails head.
Yeah, 9 Inch Nails are great.
Yeah. So I mean, the only person I ever envisioned with the synthesizer in my head, just my wife watched at the time, is Ross on Friends when he brought his keyboard and just made weird noises as songs.
That's pretty accurate, I think.
That's what you should have said for your movie.
It's true. I've been compared to Ross too. So.
Hey, that's okay. He's David Schwimmer's awesome.
David Schwimmer is pretty awesome.
Awesome. So you're a PC gamer as well, and those systems is for you as well, then, Sean?
Yeah, it was always kind of PC growing up. Eventually, I remember my family took a trip to Florida, and my brother and I bought a PS2. That was like our first console at home, and we both of us come from like way before the PS2, but for us at home, it was always PC.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually got into console stuff. But for me, it's like PC games have always really had a special place in my heart.
Yeah, I love PC games. I grew up. I remember late '80s, very late '80s, that my dad bought a used Commodore 128 as our PC, and that was our PC from like 1989 to like 1999.
The computer was a Commodore 64.
Yes. It legitimately was. My dad did not like consoles. He didn't like computers. So that's just what we had. So I was playing the worst versions of Mario Brothers.
Man, it's such great stuff. All of that classic stuff is amazing. Like I keep coming back to it, even in terms of like what I play today. It's like nothing can be new. It's just I'm always into the older stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we'll be able to answer this, but is the older stuff just objectively better, or are we just that biased and each generation will think that about their own stuff?
I mean, it's Phil knows this. If you were able to see to the left of me over here, I have every console ever made.
Yeah.
Really?
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
Very cool.
he
Ever
was
made.
not able to have consoles and stuff like that when he was a kid.
So I bought them all.
So as an adult, he like binged and bought every single console ever created.
Mm-hmm. But I would say for me myself, I played new stuff as much as I played the old stuff still.
Okay. Cool.
I usually switch between them of a new game and a classic game. So
Okay.
I was just gonna say, Graveyard is the definition of millennial.
yeah. Yes, I am. I'm okay with that. But no, I agree. Old stuff is always better.
That's the thing, is like some older games, like depending on the game, some of them still hold up today. Like I played Battletoads recently, and that game is still stupid hard.
That was our Souls games growing up.
Yeah, and it's funny because like so many people are like Souls games. Like, yeah, go play fucking Battletoads and go play like the original Ninja Turtles. Like those games. Go play Lion King on Sega Genesis.
I beat that a lot because I had that game, so I got good at it. So, all right, but going into games, stuff like that. So, kind of goes through what was like your inspiration of making Raging Kingdoms then?
So it's been actually we have to think back a long time to answer this question, because if you guys would believe it, we started coming up with the concept of this game prior to 2018.
Yeah.
Because
right around then,
2018 is the date I remember that we actually formally kind of got the process rolling. We tried to submit a trademark application and do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, it blows my mind to think how far back that was.
Yeah.
In terms of the inspiration, I think like we both liked our PC games. We also both like different board games. So we would always have game nights with friends and things like that. And Sean and I are known, and out of all of our friends, we're kind of known as the ones who will kind of always take every idea a little bit too far. We started messing around with some board games and saying, well, what would it be like if this was actually like that, and then this was actually like that, and what if we introduced this concept from another game? And we were just messing around, and the whole group of friends was into it. At the end of the night, everyone's okay, well, that was fun, I guess that's the end of that. And we're looking at each other like, wait a second, no, that's not the end of that at all. We can't let that go. So we started the long process of sort of developing it really slowly. I mean, again, it's a passion project for us, so we struggled a little bit to find enough time to get it moving quickly, but we kept slowly but surely kind of working on it. We got in play testers to kind of help us refine the concept. Really, I think we wanted to capture the magic of basically just some of our favorite games, but sometimes it's hard to choose just one to play when you like so many. So let's get as much of the magic as possible into one game. And this sort of brings in some concepts from RTS games as well that we hadn't seen done in a board game setting. And we both grew up with PC games too, so we were thinking we were kind of younger back then. Now as adults, you know, we all have a bit of nostalgia for that. We all have a bit of a longer attention span too, so we can maybe sit around a table for a couple of hours. And yeah, we're looking for excuses to get together and see each other. So a board game is the way to do all of that.
Yeah, man. I just kind of like, again, doing the research on the game and everything like that. I was kind of thrown in doing a real-time strategy, but like mixing it with Settlers of 10. Like I was just like, this is really cool. Like just especially watching some of the game sessions and seeing how you guys play it, and it's like, yeah, this is insane, man. I would never have thought that you can do RTS on a tabletop the way you guys are doing it.
We just like,
And it works.
yeah, it honestly it does. I mean, we're biased. We created the thing, but like our playtesters love it, our friends love it, and we love it. Just like we loved RTS, but we wanted that in a board game, and we were surprised too. And like I'll tell you, it took a while to get it all to work, but
Yeah.
it works.
So if you're saying it works, that means that you're referencing kind of the latest versions of the game that are ready for
That's what we're
publication.
putting out there on Instagram. Yeah,
The earlier version, I don't even think our closest friends would say that works.
Yeah,
It took a while, but it was a fun process.
yeah, for sure.
No, I mean that's really cool. You know, I've over the past couple of years, when my wife started just working a small part-time job, she'd be gone on Friday nights, and before COVID, I was having geek game night at my house. So we're playing Munchkin, we're playing all these longer games too that my buddy was bringing over, and because of him, I realized, you know what, I don't need to go to the board game store. Look at Kickstarters, look stuff like that. You have stuff like I found, Betrayal at the House on the Hill and legacy stuff, and even like something called Terrorscape that's like a multi-year horror game. And it's just amazing that you're able to get people, as you said, with longer attention spans playing those games that last 2 to 3 hours versus Monopoly, which everyone just throws the board over by that time.
Yeah, I like that reference because our company name that we created back in 2018, we call it Flip the Board Games. So we've definitely had that experience many times.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys are seeing it too, right? Because I think you look at Risk and strategy games that they are long games, but in today's world, everyone wants everything fast and fast and fast. But to take the time to build out a game that isn't just Uno or Munchkin,
Totally.
right?
Totally. And we worked really hard on trying to insert like a lot of optionality into our game as well, in terms of like different ways to win to accommodate different styles. So you've kind of got like players like Omar and myself, and we typically like the boom approach, and we like to kind of sit back and develop our economies and strike later. Then we've got buddies who we play with who are like real aggressive right at the start. And, a game which for us could be like a nice 2-hour game turns into like a half-hour game because of how aggressive it is. So we're totally with you there. It's nice to have the different, levels of flexibility.
Yeah, I think that shows too. You have the different ways to play it, and I think it's always great when a game's able to include that, as you said. You have even varying on how many people you have playing with, you can drastically change what style you pick too.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes it says 2 to 6 players, but if you have 2, you have to play a certain way. If you have 6, you can do teams a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then think about all the combinations there, and then play testing all of that to make sure it's not broken. That's
a little bit of time. Yeah.
That's how we got from 2018 to here. But I think we finally cracked the code to the RTS board game.
I can just imagine you guys playing it like in the beta test and like, this doesn't work, and they just quickly write on a piece of paper. Boom, there it is. Is that kind of how that process went for you guys? Like, how did that play testing go?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's funny, like you mentioned throwing the piece of paper down, but yeah, there was a lot of that. Like, first of all, like there's the whole, what do you play test with, right? So there were all sorts of different prototypes over time and different materials and taking stuff from other games, and then eventually producing like our own prototype and printing stuff. I mean, Omar could tell you all about the technical aspect of it, but we would test, a certain set of rules, a certain set of scenarios, see if it worked. if it didn't work, we would sometimes try to play it out, and sometimes it would end there and then, and just understand, okay, we can never talk about this idea again. Let's try something new. But we were always super eager in the process. So usually we try right away to iterate. Even that same night, we'd be like, okay, this didn't work. Let's try it again, change things up, do a speed round, see how it goes.
Yeah. There's usually like 3 phases to the night, which is everyone's having a good time, maybe order a pizza or just kind of chat a little bit and ease them into it. We really want you guys to play our game, but nice to see you.
welcome. Sit down.
Exactly. Then we get the game going, and then depending on how that goes, the mood either goes way up or way down. And then afterwards, it turns into a sort of a philosophical discussion about like what is fun,
Fun.
Right.
Fun is getting wrecked by the Britons and their archers. That's.
We do have a playtester who is constantly telling us that archers are OP. We promise everyone out there, archers in Raging Kingdoms are not OP.
All right, good. I mean, you don't want someone to just take an arrow to the knee.
So maybe it would be helpful just for those who haven't heard of the game or checked it out, just for like 1 or 2 minutes to give sort of an overview of it, if I could.
Please. No, that's exactly what we want you to do.
Yeah, okay. Because when we talk about archers being OP, like, what does that even mean?
Like, what the hell do you mean by archers being OP? It's an RTS on tabletop. How do you have archers? You don't are you throwing toothpicks at people? What the fuck is happening?
Right.
Only in the deluxe version.
Only in the deluxe version.
Right. We're definitely the first game to introduce archers, but yeah. So jump in, Sean, because if I'm butchering it, because it's gone through so many iterations that like who knows how it even works now. But
that's not even a game.
We know.
But no, I'm kidding. But essentially, so everyone will start small. Start out with your little base, and then you've got a map that is not yet explored. And one of the cool things about the game is that every time you play, that map will be randomly generated, so it'll be a different world to handle. And part of the fun of the game is also kind of venturing out, exploring. Sometimes you take risks. You might lose your explorer, but you also might discover resources that you're going to need later, and you might find pathways to your opponents and all that stuff. So there's that map exploration thing going on. And then you've got these resources that you discover out there, and then you could, just like in an RTS, you could try and invest in your economy, where you could send out your villagers and set up camps and start gathering those resources, accumulating, stockpiling resources. And then what are you going to do with those resources? Well, you can snowball and keep building your economy even bigger, which is the booming style that we tend to like if we're left to our own devices. Or you can also invest in your military. So if you invest in your military, you can then start getting aggressive with your neighbors and ruin the night for everyone. And then so that could pay off big if you eliminate your opponents. You can capture some of the spoils. But if it doesn't pay off soon, you're going to start to fall behind later in the game. The last thing you can do is research technologies with those resources, and that'll sort of give your whole civilization a boost throughout the game. And there's really 2 main paths to win the game, either through conquest, where you just beat all your opponents, or through, we call it a wonder victory, where you've researched all the technologies that you can, and you're just that glorious of a civilization, and you win. And that second win condition sort of came in a little bit later in the play testing, because we realized that there needed to be a way to make sure this game ends. Because if you get a bunch of people booming in the same game, no one's going home. So it's sort of, and it actually creates aggression in a weird way, even though it's an alternate win condition to the aggression. But in the end, if you see someone's inching closer to that, then all of a sudden everyone else looks at each other like, we've got to do something about this player. And it sort of sparks that next phase of the game too. So as a whole, that's kind of my summary. There's more ways and variations on that, but big picture, all the fun components of an RTS where you build, you gather, and you conquer, all that stuff is kind of central to our game.
Nice. I mean, RTS can, like I said, version it into a tabletop. Yeah, not seen. So kind of what was the kind of the biggest piece of making an RTS on a tabletop then for you guys that you guys just didn't anticipate?
I think, and Omar kind of hinted at it a bit and, needing the game to end. And like, if we sort of rewind a bit, like even just getting the game to feel fast, to feel like an RTS, because it is a turn-based game ultimately, but like we wanted players to be constantly thinking about their next move. We wanted things to be exciting, fast-paced, and that took some time. Like a lot of kind of micro mechanics to speed things up or add levels of uncertainty over aggression or aggression. Like over time, we really thought, okay, how can we make this like more and more exciting and engaging for players without actually breaking the thing, which happened a few times along the way.
It's like 3 hours later.
Yeah, exactly.
What's happening? Why aren't you dead?
Yeah. A good example, like it's a simple example, which even if you haven't played the game, you can probably like imagine it. We used to have a building in the game that players could build, which was a wall, and they could build walls around their bases. And I loved walls. I mean, I used to play Age of Empires like I play SimCity and build, like very organized bases and stuff. So in Raging Kingdoms, I would build lots of layers of walls around my base, and it just led to games which 3 hours later they were still trying to siege down my walls. So got rid of walls. It's an easy example. I like bringing up, like how do you keep the spirit of RTS there, but also balance things like making it fast paced and fun.
That sounds like something a lot of Americans would like for some reason.
Canadians too.
Yes, they're trying to keep us out. No, that's
they
pretty
are
cool.
Canadians. I mean,
No, but that's cool. You talk about the different strategies, and I think there's definitely different strategies. You look at like Warcraft, for example, because that's one of my most played RTSs. Is that you're doing that? You have the fog of war with the exploration, trying to find an enemy, and if I'm being a real dick in the game, I will take my some of my people and go destroy the resources of the other players.
Yeah. I have done that. I also resource stealing is a thing for me.
Yeah, totally. Couple of things just to also add to that. I always used to think when I was young growing up, I don't know who told me this, but I always thought that a lot of these RTS games have population limits or resource limits or different caps on things.
Yeah.
And I always used to think the population limit is driven by, back then, the computer processing power. It just can't manage that many units running around the field. But I realized later on that like now with the computers being way better than they used to be, you can mod these games and play them without these limits, but they do break still. So I realized that, these also have a game design purpose as well. And I think one of the things that we discovered that we needed to introduce into our game was actually a limit on certain things in terms of how many units you can have, and also like how many you can stack in a single tile, things like that, just again to prevent the game getting sort of stuck. And even though everyone knows eventually it's going to play out a certain way, but it's just going to take an hour to get there, like that's not fun for anyone. So even though we don't have those limitations on a board game really in terms of computer power, we still have some of those things that carried over.
Yeah, because you think about like strategy games with cards and stuff like that, there's only so many resources in your deck. Like I don't know if you ever played the Dominion card game.
Yep.
Yeah, that was amazing. And then I played it virtually first, and then they had the actual card game come out, which was vastly different. I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, you talk about resource caps. You can only put so many cards unless you start buying decks of wood or whatever to add to your deck, right?
And you know what? We tried to find a way to make those restraints not feel annoying, but they actually feel interesting, because then you have more dilemmas. Every time you restrict in a way, if you do it right, you create a dilemma. It's like, okay, well now I have a trade-off. Should I do this or that? Because I can't do both.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's I think Sean was mentioning, trying to keep it engaging throughout, because it is a kind of a longer game,
Mhm.
but it doesn't feel like it because every turn you're kind of in a different situation. And just like in RTS, you know, the first few minutes of the game don't look anything like the last parts of the game in the middle.
Yeah.
So we sort of have those chapters in it too.
Mm-hmm. No, that's cool, and it's just, as you said, it's an engaging game through the entire play. You know, and that's why I like a lot of these longer, in-depth games. So I obviously horror more so for me than anything else, but like it's the story, it's the process, and just figuring out your way to win. That strategy part of it. That's the S, obviously, right? And how do you do it? Because you can think, oh, I'm gonna play it, as you said, booming here. I'm gonna just build everything up there, but then you go, oh, he's getting pretty high in technology there. I should just go attack him.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other things that
He's the threat. I'm spamming Zerglings.
pretty much. Another thing that's kind of interesting in the game design is you need to find the right balance between luck and determined outcomes. Because if it's just pure luck, then everyone's like, well, my decision making, my skills, my strategy is for naught.
Mm-hmm.
And versus if it's purely deterministic, then it's not very exciting because you can see it a mile away what's going to happen.
Right.
And I think the way I won't pretend that we figured this out early on, but we eventually landed on it and it works. What I think is cool is that there is a lot of chance in the game on a very small scale. So like there's a lot of randomness in like individual battles, let's say, or like individual event cards that sometimes come up, or when you're discovering the map, you know, you might get a tile next to you that was favorable or not favorable. So you're constantly getting like this like adrenaline hit of like a good outcome or a bad outcome that you can't predict. But then law of large numbers, like this happens all the time throughout the game. So we've made sure that over the course of a few turns or throughout the game, it sort of evens out, that like a 99.9% chance it's going to even out, and the outcome of the game will tend to go to the one who played better. So you kind of have the best of both worlds. You know, you've got that uncertainty to keep you excited, but it's not unfair to the ones who deserve to win.
Totally. And then that randomness too becomes a strategy for our players, right? It's like, okay, do we play around that randomness? Do we play into it? Do we hope for the best, take a gamble? You know, there's a strategic element to managing that as well.
Right.
Good. So it's not all RNG here to ruin your day kind of thing.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And you know what, though? It's like, it's interesting because like Omar said, it took us a while to get there. And early on, you know, some of these random elements we found were too heavily favored towards these like real negative game ruining incidents. And, you know, we'd have to like adjust and kind of bring it back. So there was for sure a balancing element to that.
What did our friend Andrew call it? I think he said this game is such a buzzkill or something.
Buzzkill the game.
Because a lot of the random events were just negative. Like you lose this, or like you can't do this. And he's like, what am I here to do?
Yeah.
But don't worry, everyone. If you buy the game now, that will not be a buzzkill. We promise, or your money back.
Well, I gotta know then, how many times was the board,
again?
how many times was the board flipped over in the playtesting?
Oh man, I mean, well, you know, the game
Give
was
us the
always
the
called,
equivalent of somebody throwing a remote at the TV.
yeah.
Let's get into that.
I mean, well, there's a reason it's called Raging Kingdoms, specifically raging, being enraged, rage, like that was a huge part and remains a huge part of the playing experience from like very early on. You know, at first it was just because like all the events were negative, but then it got into, you know, hey, you're furious about what's going on. You think you're going to win, and all of a sudden your opponent's, you know, right there catching up to you.
Yeah. So actually, the first name, if I can share, the first version of this game was not called Raging Kingdoms. It was called Rage of Empires.
Okay.
And so
I see what you did there.
we captured the rage that our play testers were feeling.
Yeah, like we were like, okay, like what's happening here? Like we've got this medieval inspired game, like we're running an empire, but like we're feeling enraged as the people like managing this. So like Rage of Empires felt perfect.
Very appropriate.
But ultimately, that got changed. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why this took as many years as it did, because in parallel to all that development, we also were navigating all that in terms of, can we call it Rage of Empires?
Yeah.
Are we going to get in trouble if we call it Rage of Empires?
We recognize that, we thought it was a perfect description for the game. Others thought it was a less than perfect description for the game. And we really believe in Raging Kingdoms and what used to be called, Rage of Empires. And so we fought hard and before here in Canada, like the Trademark Tribunal, to try to be able to use our name Rage of Empires. And in the end, the decision wasn't favorable to us and we transitioned. But we're passionate guys. Like Omar said at the outset, like taking things arguably our friends would say too far. Like if we believe in something, like we're going to put everything into that. And so we really believe in this game and we're super happy with Raging Kingdoms as a name. But, we always wanted to make sure, the name captures the spirit as closely as possible. So when it couldn't be Rage of Empires, we pivoted, but we gave it, every last kind of ounce of fight. Just like our players do when they play the game.
That's right.
I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bit of a David and Goliath situation where
totally.
multi-billion-dollar corporations were trying to, you can imagine whom, were trying to argue that we should not have that name. And we were like, force us, man. Yeah. Like we're gonna try our best.
Yeah, we exercise our legal rights and we respected the process, and it was all fair game. But we're passionate people, so when we believe in something like this game, we go for it.
Yeah, I just envision you guys bringing your own desk with a one-way mirror in front of it, and just a short one-way mirror, so you can still see around it. Your friends playing, like, what's he doing? What happens if we do this? Just think of Egon Spengler and Ghostbusters 2. All right, now take away the puppy. That's awesome. So how did you guys come up with the civilizations that you picked for the game? It was just kind of throughout history?
Yeah, and there are two, like you could play with civilizations, you could play without civilizations, but we like with civilizations. It's a lot more fun. You have special bonuses. Yeah, we were thinking about, what kind of civilizations embody or what, like if we look at history, what are some of those like key civilizations?
Empires, if you will.
Totally, right? Empires, kingdoms, and then, we would like take a history book and like look through it. Like, does this make sense? We would think about games we like playing, that are medieval themed. Do they treat these civilizations? Are we too far out there? Does it make sense thematically? And we came up with a bunch, which we really like.
That's awesome. Do you ever have people dress up? Do you want to see people dress up as the civilization they're playing? Like, and can I just dress up in all black, listen to Marilyn Manson for the goth?
Yes, the rules actually say you must.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And we haven't enforced that rule yet, but I think it's been bugging me. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I mean, without giving anything, I know you guys are going through this phase. Do you ever have plans for, like, it said don't tell anything you can't, different maps and different like ages of the world and different civilizations, like in like expansion packs and stuff like that?
You know what? I can tell you something actually, which is that we had thought for a while that there could be like another way to play this as a solo game. And we were always thinking like, let's just release the 2 to 6 player version, and then we'll come to that probably as a second print run or something.
Yeah.
And then we got to thinking like, you know what? Like, why not give everyone the option if we can now? Like, it'll probably delay the production a little bit, but who's counting, right? So like, let's put a little bit of time and effort into developing that, at least to the point where there's enough content to make it fun and worth its value for a solo gamer. And then also we were thinking of launching a platform on our website where that players can also start creating their own campaigns using the game mechanics.
Okay.
And that way, they can vote and they can share, and some that are popular can benefit the community. So it actually can grow beyond what the two of us can come up with. So that was originally meant to be kind of a second iteration, but we decided let's just like shove as much as we can into the first run of it, and as long as the quality is there, and if we need to take a little time to get it there, that's fine. And that's what we're planning to do. So you might have seen the earlier releases saying 2 to 6, but we're updating that to say 1 to 6.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because like I said, my good buddy, my co-host of one of the shows, he has all these expansion games like that, but he's like, no one wants to play with me. So he looks for games that are solo player.
Yeah.
Then he'll come to my house with his, 10-foot stack high of games to come up for game night and just go, I can play this with other people now.
Yeah. It's great having the optionality, and like we're really excited about this. Like Omar said, we were gonna push it off to a future release, and we're like, you know what? We think we could do this. Like we see the potential. We've always seen the potential, and we've started thinking about these campaigns now, like what the extent of solo play is going to look like, and we're really excited about the possibilities. There's just so much we could do with this game.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool, because I can see this, like I said, going through different ages, and almost in like the idea of a legacy version of it too, where you start off in 600 AD, end up 3000 AD, right?
Yeah, that's like an Empire Earth kind of thing.
Totally, yeah. A lot of different things you can do with it. Yeah,
I'm sure that's all in the back of your heads too.
So this
the
is
number of
like,
ideas.
It's
It's
not
like,
like we're copywriting anything. Wink, wink.
yeah, I mean, the sky is the limit, right? Like at the end of the day, it's a board game. Like it will always be a board game. But as far as like potential different civilizations, what different maps look like, it's kind of medieval theme now, but does it inherently have to be a medieval themed game? Not necessarily. So lots of stuff you can do with it for sure.
Yeah, it's just different eras packs essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that'd be amazing. I think that's something that you don't. A board game is that perfect space to do that. Is that you're able to do those expansions to it without calling it number 2, number 10, whatever. Getting to that point, that you're able just to kind of grow with it and keep the base as the base.
Right.
Yeah, totally. And we're in a day and age now too, right? Where just information and community is so accessible. Right. And we're really hoping to develop a nice community of players that we can engage with, and we can keep the game dynamic and changing, if it needs to change. If there's something that players really, really don't like, or if there's something players really, really do like, then we could provide that support from a game designer's, perspective and make those adaptations to the game. It's not like years ago where you would have to like physically buy that version 2 to expand your game. Like there's so much now that, we could allow our players to take ownership of themselves.
Right. That's really cool. Like I said, to be able to see that growth, and with everything you guys are doing, who's doing your artwork, by the way? Because it's beautiful.
Dude, the artwork is so good.
Yeah, we've had a couple of different graphic artists who helped us. One of them was in Canada. The other one was overseas, and it sort of just came together over time between the two of them, and there was some others who did specific jobs as well. So we're gonna credit them, and we're really happy with the way it turned out. And that was sort of, we were so excited when the art was finalized, and then the name change happened, and then we had to sort of go back and change some of it, and then we didn't even have some of the original files. So we said, you know what, let's just use this as a chance to upgrade it again. So I think the artwork now is better than it's ever been.
Yeah, a lot of iteration, and also like going through that whole pandemic period, which coincided with like a certain trademark dispute that we were dealing with. Like that also gave us time to just spend that extra time engaging with our graphic artists, and thinking about, oh, here are some different versions. Let's try this. Let's try that, and really get it to the point where it's a product that we find is really visually appealing. Not that the old initial version wasn't visually appealing, Omar, but I think it's you compare the earlier.
I never said that.
Yeah.
You went there.
You compare some of the dusty prototypes we have lying around. The latest, greatest version is really, really nice. Yeah, took time to get there.
Well, that's great. Like I said, this is meeting creators like yourselves is why we love doing the shows that we do. It's just because you get to see the behind the scenes and the process of doing it. Because I know a handful of people that have started their own game, right, and made their own game, and that process. And it's just like I'd love to do it, but I have no idea where to even begin with that. And just I think your passion for RTS is going to show in this game.
Absolutely.
Totally. Yep. And for anyone thinking about like where do I start, it's really that. It's just it's passion. It starts with passion, and we try to keep engaged with like the latest developments in the board game design community. We're pretty active in Facebook groups, and it totally blows my mind just like the variety of gaming out there, the variety of game mechanics out there. And all it takes is just being passionate and trying things out. And the community is super, super supportive. You develop, think something through, you test it. It's not an overnight thing. It doesn't have to be an overnight thing, right? It's kind of like any skill. It takes time. And hey, it may not work out. Like there are earlier versions of this game which were totally broken and like the game wouldn't have worked. So you go back to the drawing board literally if you need to.
Yeah.
But we never saw ourselves as like game designers, and then jumping into this, we had to learn a lot about how that process works, but we're really proud of what we achieved.
Yeah, and I think we're really lucky that we landed in a space where the community is so welcoming and so supportive, and we actually met some really cool people throughout this. We invited people to our playtest, we went to other playtests and just supported each other's Kickstarters and things like that. And it's not every kind of hobby or community that you can just land in where everyone is just going to welcome you like that.
There's no gatekeeping.
No, not
there's
at all.
No gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool, because I know, where I live in the Chicago area, that there are board game expos, here, at least in Chicago. Do you guys have anything like that you go to in Canada?
We've got some. We haven't been to one yet, like with our game, with Raging Kingdoms, but that's definitely, we've been thinking about attending those. Yeah, we'd love to see you in Chicago if we can. We both love that city. We've been there. But for sure, that would be like an amazing experience for us. What we do have, and like I'd imagine you have them in Chicago, we do have a lot of board game bars that we go to.
Okay.
Do you have anything?
I mean, the games are most boring to game boards in Chicago. No, I don't know of anything in Chicago because either you go to their concerts, you go to sports games, you go to a Cubs game. Cubs is separate than sports, and then there's ping pong bars, and there used to be a lot of barcades, but not anymore. Barcades disappeared pretty quickly.
Yeah, we still have a few barcades, but we definitely have like a pretty rich board game community, board game bar community. Randolph's is like, shout out to them. It's a board game bar chain here in the Montreal area, and that's also been a fun place for us.
Board game bar chain. You see, we don't have that in California.
Yeah, they got like not like your like Tim Hortons chain, we don't have one at every corner, but yeah,
we also don't have Tim Hortons. So I mean, like,
yeah, it's a cool concept. I mean, for those who haven't been, you can think of a sommelier who will help you like choose the right wine for you. They have people who will help you choose the right board game for you, and you just talk to them and. Can I get you a drink? That's fine. And then there's a separate person can I get you a game? And then they have like a huge collection of games, and you sit down, and while you're there, you're having a drink, you're with your friends, trying out board games. If you don't like it, you switch to another one. If you do like it, you play it as long as you want. And it's a cool way to like experience new games.
Yeah. Damn it, California, get on this shit.
They're just there on fire a lot. No, I mean that's pretty interesting. And it's if I would have met you guys 6 years ago with this game, when I was a brewer at a brewery, I would have had geek game nights. and it has an event like that, because we hosted a bunch of other things, but that never occurred to me to have like board game night, which local breweries would be insane not to get in, because they're independent, to work with independent creators like that and do that.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, if anyone's about to start one, give us a call and we'll work.
Local brewers in Sacramento, all the local brewers in Sacramento, because I know all of you watch this show. Game nights. Let's go. Let's do this.
Where would you say your audience is generally from?
We're all over the place, man. A lot of people in Sacramento, but I mean, like, our audience is all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, I mean, more than half the hosts on this channel are in the central time zone. I'm just saying that right now.
Even though the two, like, guys who run the whole thing are from Sacramento. So
No, I mean, so do you guys have that on your radar of like 2025 to get to like a board game con to showcase the game then?
Yes. So there's a few different, we've thought about the marketing. The game design is just about settled.
Yeah.
We're now thinking a lot about the marketing and the promotion of it. And there's a few different channels. And I think this is a little bit different for us than for maybe some other board games, because we actually have two ways to go. We have the board game community, which includes, the board game retailers, but it also includes sort of the indie track with Kickstarter and the crowdfunding and all that, as well as going through sort of the conventions and going to the board game cons and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's like kind of what I just said there would apply pretty much to any board game publisher. They would probably think of those ideas. But for us, that's half the battle. The other half is the RTS community, because we think that that's kind of a bit more unique for them to see in terms of, hey, have you grown up loving this RTS or that RTS that we won't name, but you can all relate to it? And if yes, are you intrigued by a board game that kind of lets you capture that magic? And I think that would resonate with a lot of people. I know that had we not done it, had someone said that to us, maybe I'm biased, but I probably would have bought it. So, so it's gonna be cool to and I'm really curious to see kind of like which direction catches on more. We're obviously going to give it our all in both directions, but it's kind of interesting that we have like these two groups, and who knows, maybe like those groups will start making links with each other in the Raging Kingdoms community that's about to take off. So we'll see.
Oh man, you could full on LARPers in the Raging Kingdoms community.
that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
But also, if you guys ever try to like reach out for like celebrity endorsements or something like that, one person you guys probably should reach out to is Dan Fogler. Dan Fogler is a massive tabletop gamer.
Sweet.
I did a quick interview with him a while back, and he it was surprising how much he gravitated towards tabletop gaming and how much he loves tabletop gaming. So if you guys ever like start going on that push and you're like, we need a celebrity endorsement, Dan Fogler.
Awesome. Cool. We look forward to his endorsement. Yeah. No, that's great.
I know you're watching the show right now.
Right.
In between filming, God, what franchises is he in right now?
All the franchises he's in are dead.
I was gonna say he's not. Walking Dead is no longer a thing anymore. They killed off the
Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts. Just him being a nerd. That's we'll just go with that. He was in the Goldbergs.
Looks like you've got an opening then, yeah.
Yeah.
Something to do, clearly. Yeah. So.
I mean, I can see you guys going to like Comic Cons too, just because.
Oh yeah, totally.
Comic Cons are a bunch of nerds too.
Yeah, our home city, Montreal, has a really big Comic Con every year.
Great Comic Con in Montreal. Yeah. Anything that brings people together in like a positive way, who kind of love geeking out, that's great. Like we can make it work. We'll find people that we love engaging with and people.
Yeah.
Who love
Well, then what you do is then you find you go to the Comic Cons, you go to these cons, you find the the podcast people that are there and get them to play a game live.
Yeah, that's true. We should get you guys to play a game live. Yeah, we've got to make that happen somehow.
I'd be down.
Yeah.
I mean, do
we
you ever
do Friday night game nights? So
We do. And it's interesting, do you ever, obviously with this board game, that being the thing, do you ever see this coming full circle and then this being an online version of Raging Kingdoms?
Man, I mean, our skill set is pretty limited.
Let's say if it took us 7 years to figure out a
now
print
play
game.
the video game.
If others are passionate and have a skill set, reach out. But no, we've always kind of focused on this as a board game or a movie franchise. One of those two. I think. Right.
Raging Kingdoms, the movie. How would that play out?
I would envision it Knights of Badassdom in a way.
So that means 100% Dinklage is in it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of lava chicken, we'd have lava moose. I guess would be our kind of.
That makes sense. A lava moose makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh man, I said this is great stuff. And then support. As the community grows with you too, and I can just see this going forever and just grow and have people make their own campaigns. Like that's how you get like a lot of people involved with it too. It's like, oh, I can make my own campaign and then have them share it out, have them stream it and all that stuff. Yeah,
Exactly. That's the vision, and I think what we've tried to do with definitely with this first release. Not only are we creating a new game, but we're creating kind of a game system with the mechanics that can then be applied kind of infinitely after that. I mean, as you said, you can apply it to different time periods.
Yeah,
you can do your campaign. Like we can go on. The possibilities are endless, and that's so cool. And I think what personally would bring me a lot of satisfaction out of this whole project is like if it ends up being bigger than the two of us. If it's something that like there's people out there that are contributing to it, sort of like open source, but for a board game in a way.
Right.
The more people contribute to it, I think that just is going to make it even stronger and better than whatever the two of us could do if we tried to put a fence around it. So yeah, that's the vision. And if you guys want to have some play tests with us, that would be really cool. And your ideas.
So I can see, like how Clue and Monopoly have their own versions. I can see Raging Multiverse, Rick and Morty.
I mean, there is the episode where they end up in like the medieval, the medieval place. Just we do it with like we'll make it less. What's the word that I'm supposed to use online? We'll make it less grapey.
I see someone in your chat suggesting that we get connected with Colossus Girl in Washington. I mean, that sounds pretty epic, whatever that's all about. So we're gonna have to check that out. Thank you, chat, for
Colossus Girl Entertainment. That's actually where we're gonna be this weekend. We're gonna be doing a show for them.
No way. Okay.
Wow. In Boise, Idaho.
Very cool.
Nice.
I hadn't heard of that. Nice. It's crazy. Like there's so much happening in this space in every different region, and like one region doesn't know what's happening in the other region. That's great.
Oh yeah.
I think people tend to forget how big the states are.
Yeah.
Also, I think 90% of Americans don't realize how big Canada is.
It's a lot of space.
Yeah.
It's a lot of space, lots of mooses and polar bears. That's all I know.
I have to make a dumb joke just because I make dumb jokes all day, but I mean like make a dumb joke.
Uh-huh.
I know the answer to this question, but what is the plural of moose? Is it mooses? No, it's just moose for all of you out there.
It's Mises, all right.
That's the word that was in my head. I was like, do we call them Mises? But isn't that mice?
Yeah.
I mean, if goose or geese, then moose is meese.
You're not wrong.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, this is the first thing we learn in school.
Exactly. You have to learn to ride a moose while chugging syrup. I understand.
Yeah.
Also, while speaking French.
Oh yeah, oui.
Yeah, that's actually another thing that we focused on is translating everything in the game so that when we release it, we've got both an English and a French material.
Fully translated.
And we're Canada's big country, but the part we're in, there's a lot of French. It's the province of Quebec, and
You guys are
majority
Quebec,
speak.
yeah.
Majority are French speaking, so we wanted to make it accessible here too. So it's like you don't think of all these things when you first think we're going to launch a board game, and then
It's like, well, we are in Quebec, so we have to make sure that we have French available.
Totally.
Right.
But what's interesting is like we definitely went into it because we were thinking about it from a compliance perspective. Like we want to be able to sell our own game in the city we live in. But what's been interesting though is we've ended up like coincidentally encountering a lot of play testers and fans from like France and the Benelux region where having a French game would be super useful because then we could, be able to penetrate in a meaningful way that fan base. So we're excited about now having a French copy because we think it's really going to allow us to engage with all sorts of new communities that we'd be more limited in engaging with. Yeah,
No, that's really cool.
And-
Because that
and-
does open it up for kind of more people to play the game.
yeah,
right.
totally.
I see in the chat, is there poutine in the game? No, but yes. I mean, there's food, and for us, that's food. So
if you play as the goth, 100% there's poutine.
Oh no, the goth is just drinking black coffee and smoking a cigarette. All right.
that's in the expansion pack. We'll have to introduce coffee and cigarettes.
That's like when you add heroes to the game, your hero, like your main hero, is just like some goth dude from a from a coffee bar.
Eating poutine. Yeah.
Eating poutine,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like I said, our goths here, they would just go to the 24/7 diners and at 2 a.m. just have a cup of coffee and smoke cigarettes, and that's all they did all night.
Also known as a French breakfast.
Yeah. Denny's at 2 a.m. Yes, that's very yes.
Another thing we miss out here, we missed out on is Denny's. We don't have Denny's up
Do
here.
not have Denny's.
You
now
consider
Denny's
yourself
is-
lucky.
Denny's
Yeah.
is quintessentially American, so it's like, and then that's American in a bad way. It's like all
Oh,
of
no. If you want the Southern American, you get Waffle House.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we love Waffle House. We're very familiar with Waffle House. Yeah. Omar's got family in the United States. I mean, we love the United States, and we try to travel down there often with our friends. We always make sure we're stopping at some of the staples in American culinary culture. Waffle House being one of them.
Oh, you have to. You have to.
God, one of my favorite videos was like this guy was doing he's Canadian, but he was doing like the caption was like Canadian eats American cereals, and he's like, I don't have any of this shit here. What is this? This is free shit.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, like I said, I'm
It's
excited.
funny. It's funny when you're based on where you are in the world, your impression of these brands is like so different. Like, for us, we're like so excited, like Waffle House, like this is an icon.
We're just like, Waffle House. Who's drunk? Why do you want to go to Waffle House?
Oh, we were there last. It was like 11 in the morning. It was like prime time for Waffle House.
I mean, we thought waffles, you go in the morning,
exactly.
right? But
We're American. Of course, they're drunk at 11 in the morning. That's just common.
You're still drunk. Still drunk at 11. No, like I said, my because where I live, there's like I think it's like 350 miles to the nearest Waffle House, and so my wife's never had that growing up because they didn't travel. So when we went to my friend's wedding in like Tennessee/Georgia, I'm like, "There's a Waffle House." She's like, "We're going," and like my buddy and I built this up. She's like, "This is bad." This is bad. Why'd you get me so excited and make me drive to a different state to get Waffle House?
It's because she didn't get it smothered and covered.
I know.
You got to get it smothered and covered, or else it's not worth it.
Hey, Bloodhound Gang told us to do it right.
Like, if it was like a little good, then that wouldn't be exciting, right? But you could either be really good or you could be so bad that it's good for that reason. And I think, you know what? Like sometimes when things are bad enough, it turns it into a memorable experience. I wouldn't want it either way with Waffle House.
Oh man. So Phil, I believe you have some questions for us.
I do have questions. So these are going to be some wrap-up questions before we jump into the rest of the show here. So guys, I'm going to ask you the hardest question you've ever been asked in your life, especially because you guys are in Canada. I'm going to keep saying it that way. I'm going to keep mispronouncing it the entire time.
Right. As long as you don't call us the 51st state, you know, Canada we can take. Yeah.
I have too much respect for Canada for that. Apparently, Canada has too much respect for itself for that. So, guys, again, hardest question. You guys ready for this?
We're ready.
We're ready.
All right. What is your favorite kind of taco?
Man.
Baja fish tacos.
I was gonna say fish tacos.
Too
too.
slow. I said
Yeah, I was in San Diego last year, not Sacramento, but San Diego, and had some outstanding fish tacos. Yeah,
That's
we
one
don't
of my
have
favorite
anything
things
like
from
that
being.
here.
That's one of my favorite things from being from Northern California is when your friends from the South do not realize California is the largest state in the largest state in the union. They go, hey, I'm
Kind
gonna
of
be in San
stretched down
Diego.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be in San Diego. You guys, you want to hang out? Like, you
Yeah,
realize
like,
10-hour drive, right?
12 hours, but yeah.
It's like that's a 10-hour drive from Sacramento.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we get the same thing where, like,
Yeah.
if a Canadian is traveling
Yeah, like
overseas, something.
Vancouver or
Oh, I
something,
know
yeah.
somebody from Canada. They're in like Vancouver, and
Yeah.
we're in Montreal, and that's literally like further distance than the whole continent.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, you know, that's like 1,000 miles, right, man?
yeah,
That's not-
yeah. They're like,
Yeah.
do you know them? Like,
do you realize how big Canada is?
Did you answer yes? Of course I know him.
So I'm gonna ask you guys this, right? Are you guys horror fans at all?
Somewhat.
Not me.
Yeah.
This is all you, Sean.
My brother's
What
a
is
big
the-
horror fan. I'm like on the fence.
What is the worst horror movie franchise? This is subjective, so you can.
There is a wrong answer, just so you know.
There's a wrong answer.
At least it's an answer.
I'm not sure about like worst franchise. I will say generally that like I haven't been a huge fan of some of the remakes that like are I don't know if you call them remakes, but like re-entering into the universe like
Mhm.
so many decades later. I kind of want original content.
As do we all.
But I don't know about worst franchise. What's the wrong answer? I'm curious about that.
If you said Evil Dead, you'd be immediately kicked off the show.
Graveyard will tell you, but I will tell you instead. His son is named Ash. Ash William.
Mhm.
Graveyard has a 90% sleeve of Nothing But Evil Dead.
No way.
Whoa.
Oh, that is cool. That's awesome.
Nice.
I love that.
It's 60%, thank you.
Some of the games that we play, if you can't figure out the answer, 90% chance it's probably gonna be. Oh, why did I forget his name all of a sudden? Shit, I know.
I make a game called Jet Nerdy, and there's always a hidden Bruce Campbell.
We did something the other day, and I was like, the only reason that Graveyard would pop into the stream just randomly is because we're about to talk about Bruce Campbell right now. So, and he didn't, but like, still, I had to make the obligatory Bruce Campbell joke. So, guys, And you may have given us some of this earlier, but what's some advice you might have for anyone trying to get into the industry that's trying to make a tabletop game, or what's some advice that you wish you guys had that you can give other people who want to get in on this?
I'm trying to think of something different than what was said before, but I think playtesting is really more important than you would think. I mean, because like no matter how hard you think about an idea conceptually, like it's just never gonna play out the way you think. Also, like when playtesting, there's like it's not all about just playing the game for fun, but also you need to ask people to like deliberately try to break the game, like not necessarily try to win, but try to like be outrageous with some type of strategy or other. Because like you can only play test so much, but the real world is going to play it more than we ever could. So we need to make sure we're getting all the edge cases. So that's from like the design standpoint, but then I think from like a project standpoint too, like the sooner you make sure you're involved in the community, the better. Because essentially it's really hard the first time to get enough scale to make it viable. So, when you're manufacturing a game, if you don't manufacture enough copies, like the price per unit doesn't make any sense, because you've got a lot of fixed costs of like setting up the machines and all that. So really like your goal is to figure out like, can I get X number of people? For us, it's going to be about 1,000 for the first run. Can we get that many people interested in buying this game? But it's a two-way street. Like we can't just show up and ask everyone, hey, you need to support our game, and we don't give a darn about yours. So I think like if you become part of the community in like a genuine way, like really you have to be passionate about what's going on and support others. And then, it all comes full circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, because we say it all the time across all our channels. Indie support indie. We always do that. It's you have to.
Yeah. That's really like literally, it's the only way that it can work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think on like speaking about community, most board games are enjoyed in groups, right? And even if you're designing a solo game, you're still designing that solo game ideally so that you can share it with other people, right? Mm-hmm. So that you can like create something you really, really love and then put it out there in the world. So not only do you need to engage in the community, but you also need to check pride of authorship a bit, right? Like it's important that you're open-minded to feedback. Like you should be really, really passionate about your project, because you may get, you may hit setbacks sometimes, and like you should try to carry on. But also I'd say be open to feedback. We always were like, we'd have something in mind, but like we were always taking suggestions and thinking things through really, really critically. And I think that's helpful too. Now, at a certain point, you're going to need to make some critical decisions as a game designer, but it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to ask for feedback. We found that was really helpful during the process.
And I want to build on that too, which is that you need to be open to it, but then you won't be able to please everyone. And sometimes we've literally gotten polar opposite feedback on the same decision, right? So it's important to figure out like as early as you can, like what are like the guiding principles? Like what are you really trying to achieve? Who is this game for?
Yeah.
Like roughly how long should it take?
Mm-hmm.
Roughly how complex should it be? Is this a game for someone who's never played a board game in their life? Is this a game reserved for only those who are the most experienced gamers, or somewhere in the middle?
Yeah.
And then kind of filter the feedback through that. And it's okay. Like we've had some playtesters or friends of ours who just really aren't in the game community at all. And we wanted it to be fun for most of them. But if there's like a couple that are like, look, this is just not my scene, it doesn't mean that we have to change the game now to make sure that it's their scene as well, right? Like there's a balance.
Right.
And the sooner you figure out like certain things that are your guiding principles and you're not trying to deviate those, the easier the rest becomes, because then that guides you through the other smaller decisions.
Right. I mean, because in all reality, it's never going to be for everyone. There's no such thing as anything that is going to be for everyone. So it's also knowing your market,
Yeah. And then as you said, like not taking it personally if it's not for someone. because yeah, like if it's not for everyone, then all the people that it's not for, you got to be prepared for maybe some either negative or just apathetic feedback, and that's okay.
Yeah, completely agree.
I'm
Sweet.
with it on that. Again, guys, another extremely hard question. You guys ready for this?
Absolutely.
All right, we're all
If your internet drops suddenly, it's just a coincidence.
we are all history nerds here. So, who would win in a fight? And I'll give you this 1-on-1 and with a battle, or in a battle, like with an army, right? Who would win in a fight? Alexander the Great or Attila the Hun?
Ooh.
Hold on, are they armed?
So that's what I was saying.
Like-
I'm gonna give you guys both options, right? So 1-on-1, let's say with weapons, and also commanding armies.
Oh, okay.
Because you guys are RTS guys, I'm giving you a hero battle.
Yeah, for sure. I know what I'm picking.
Yeah, I think I know what I'm picking. What are you picking? You want to say what? Should we say them at the same time?
Same
Which
time.
one do we start with? Like without weapons?
Just by themselves, solo.
Okay, by the start solo, by themselves,
Solo,
no weapons.
No weapons. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Attila. Yeah. Okay, what are we doing next?
With their armies.
With their
With
armies?
the armies.
Yeah. Okay. 1,
Okay.
2, 3.
Alexander.
So we are saying that Attila the Hun is a better hand-to-hand combatant, but better commander on the field is Alexander the Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
I agree with that.
I can agree with that because Attila the Hun 100% was a. I hate to steal this colloquialism, but he was a fled the field kind of guy, right? So it was just kind of, fast, overwhelming, kind of thing,
Right.
know. And of course, you have your Mongols on horseback, which kind of gave him an advantage, but Alexander was outthinking his opponents. Like he was 10. He was who am I trying to? He's General Thrawn. He's trying to think, like outthink everybody before you even know what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you were asking that question, I thought you were going to say, because you guys are history guys, who would win in a battle, and I thought you were going to say some like history quiz contest thing, and I was laughing because we were such geeks that we've actually done that with our friends. We have a group of friends, and we found like the 2 friends that we thought were the worst at like history knowledge, and we all got together and we tried to like pit them against each other, and all the rest were like throwing questions at them, and we were keeping score, and it was kind of, maybe it was bullying, maybe it wasn't, but it was everyone had fun.
Well, that's kind of what we do with our nerdy trivia games that we do. It's especially Jet Nerdy. It's not how many points you have at the end. How close to 0 are you? Because
Exactly.
most of the time we're all negative.
How we all think that we're like the ultimate nerds, and it's like, oh my god, we're terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, what's next for you? From what I looked at, the Kickstarter's not live right now, right?
No, not yet.
What do you have a date for when the Kickstarter goes live?
So we haven't released the final date. We have an idea of it. The Kickstarter, like in terms of the game itself, it's ready to launch. As I said, we're thinking about the promotion, so we're going to be releasing the date pretty soon. Stay tuned. And then the other thing is just we're trying to figure out how the whole like tariff situation would come into play, and whether we can still launch right now, or if we need to see how that plays out, or if we can adjust, or so we're just trying to work through all that. But we're super impatient because we are so close, and it's been, you can imagine, so long in the works. So like we're very close, and we can't wait to announce that Kickstarter soon.
Yeah.
Do you guys have vendors in the States?
We don't have any. Well, we do have vendor in terms of like selling the game itself. Yeah, we've got a few in mind.
Yeah,
including your brother, right? Has kind of a hookup for us.
Yeah. So my brother's also really into the board game scene, but he like I said, the market has different kind of types of audiences, and he's sort of in a different group, and he's super into, if you guys heard of Advanced Squad Leader, which is like it's essentially it's kind of like a game, but it's almost like a simulation of a battle, and it's very tactical, so it's like it takes days or weeks to play through. And you command like every little detail of a battle down to like this individual squadron, and like you have to just figure out like, okay, what's their morale at this moment, and like they shoot the gun but the gun overheated, so then what does that do to the unit, and like there's so many. It's endless, but it's really cool. And he's like, you can imagine it's a pretty small community in the US, but he's really into it, and through that he goes to a lot of the board game conventions too. And I actually heard, I told him, I heard that in the Pentagon, in the U.S. government, they actually use that system to try and like game out certain real world war scenarios. They did it with
like misspelled, people or adding people to secret chats. Yeah, that's a great strategy.
No, actually, that is something that I'm familiar with games that are similar to that. I know that they teach that at War College in here in the States.
So what you're saying is, to avoid tariffs, so we need to have people smuggling the games across the border. Got it.
Look, on their moves. Yeah. Migrate, right? Yeah, go south.
If it's not smuggling, if it's on Mooseback, you're fine.
Okay.
Well, if you guys want to come visit us up here, and on your way back, you can take some gifts with you. Just let us know.
We have
It's a joke.
we have come to take all your moose. So where can everybody follow you if they want to learn more about Raging Kingdoms, or if they want to learn more about you guys and just kind of updates on everything? Where can everybody follow you? What are all your pluggables?
Yeah, Instagram's the best place for that. We're on Facebook as well. We're active on both platforms. We've got a lot of content in store, stuff about the game, but also just, we like to keep things pretty funny. What we think is funny anyways, in terms of putting the game in some unique situations. So we're going to kind of keep people and our fans and ourselves busy with this content throughout the rest of the spring and the summer. So Instagram is probably the best place to engage with us.
It's okay. Canadia's best import is comedy. So you guys are great.
That's right. You fit right in.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we appreciate you coming on and giving us all the information about everything that you guys got going on. Now we've got about 25 minutes left, so we can probably get a little bit of this bracket in if you guys want to hang around.
Totally. Yeah, I'll be here.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna embiggen this here. I'm actually gonna show everybody where I'm at on the Batmobile.
Yes.
So
Sweet.
I know it's been a little while since I've actually shown you guys the update here, but essentially the body of the tumbler is mostly built. I have the two stanchions on the front, and that way the wheels are going to connect to that soon. It's becoming more and more of the tumbler every day.
Nice.
I don't want to derail this part of the show. Can we ask you questions?
Yeah.
How long have you been working on that? That's really sick.
Has
it been before or after 2018 that you started?
No, I started this about 2018. That
was a creative year for a lot of people.
Yeah, I know, right? I've been working on this probably for about a month now. Typically, I probably would have been done by now, but I've been too lazy to separate all my pieces out. So what's taking the longest part is actually finding all the pieces that I need in this massive mess of Lego pieces.
Do you organize them by color, or is it just
So typically I actually go through and I organize everything by the actual bag that's supposed to be in there.
Okay.
And then I will remove everything from the bag and organize it by shape, color. So in that way I know exactly where everything's at, and I usually get through it pretty quickly. If I have everything organized, I usually can knock out like 2 to 3 bags. I am on the 5th bag right now, and I'm like halfway through the 5th bag right now. So yeah, I've been wasting time, but it's fine. It's been worth it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think after years of doing the show with young Phil, when my son, I told Phil the story, when he asked to have me help him rebuild the Millennium Falcon, he just had everything there, and I started organizing. Like, you're doing it wrong.
Throw all the pieces out, Dad.
Yeah.
Oh, do you not watch the show I'm on?
No, he does not.
OCD that my co-host has.
Things change with time, right? Like when I was young, I would dump everything onto the table, and like now, like I recently got into Lego again, and now it's like, okay, like everything needs to be organized, So it's just, we get older, we need a bit more structure in our lives.
Yeah, my kids have lots of Lego sets. I've had one Lego set my entire life, and I got that years ago from distance learning. That's the only Lego set I own. I was not allowed to have Legos growing up.
It was the one you won on the show.
It is. My wife goes, "You can't get into Legos. You have no room for more of your crap." I'm like, "That's fair." But yes, my kids have their own dedicated table for Legos in their rooms.
Sweet, that's great.
Awesome. So you want to know what the bracket we're doing then?
Yeah, you said you were doing a console bracket. Is that what I heard?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are doing a console bracket of what the best console is. So, for example, we only have 32 spots we can do here. So, first time was Atari 7800 versus the NES, and then just Xbox One X versus the PS5. And what I do is I make the list and I throw it into a bracket maker and I randomize it 3 times. So sometimes you have stuff that's really easy to pick, like Intellivision versus the PlayStation 1. Easy answer, Intellivision. But stuff like that. So where we're at right now is we are at the PlayStation 1 versus the Xbox 360. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
PlayStation 1 versus the 360?
Yeah.
360.
So, I mean, that's your opinion. It's okay to be wrong.
The PlayStation 1 was Sony being, it was, okay, you know what? I might have to change my answer just because my explanation for why I was going to pick 360 actually just gave me a reason to pick the PlayStation. PlayStation was originally created because they were contracted to make CD drives for Nintendo, and Nintendo trying to basically emasculate Sony. Said on the day that Sony announced they were making these drives for the N64, Nintendo, knowing that they announced this, like hours later, said, "So what Sony told you was wrong at CES. What Sony told you was wrong. We are making CD drives with Panasonic now." And Sony said, "Oh, cool. Well, we learned all of this shit because we were building this thing for you." And same thing because they were building a drive for Sega too. So they learned all the best pieces of Sega and Nintendo and made the PlayStation, and the PlayStation was born. And now the PlayStation is the biggest. The PlayStation made the Nintendo kind of obscure.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what? Like the fact that we're having this debate and they're 11 or like 12, I think years. I don't know how many years, but they're pretty far apart. I think the PS1 has to win it. It's like iconic.
Yeah, like exactly. It's all contextual, right? And like there's a limit to context, right? If we go back and be like, I don't know, the dice games that the Romans played are superior to like modern, like, okay, there are going to be limits to context, but I agree. Like, it's still, for what it is, it still holds up as really entertaining. And you had a PS1,
I did.
right?
I still have it.
Yeah, you still have it.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was, as you guys know, a PS2 guy. But yeah, like I think it still holds up versus the 360. Like Xbox had been out there for a while. Like, yeah, it's a good console, but it doesn't. To me, I don't know. It's like super popular, but for some reason, I just don't think it's as iconic.
Well, the 360. The reason I was going to go with the 360 initially was because the 360 is what turned consoles into entertainment systems. So rather than it just being a video game console, that's where they started doing movies and adding everything to it so that it is a all-in-one entertainment console. I mean, the Xbox One kind of expanded on that, but the 360 is where they got the idea for it. So,
excuse me, sir. I have I have my CDI here that I was able to watch art scenes on. That was my entertainment system. All right, that was before the 360
God,
and the remote control.
Sonic, dude.
No, I mean 360 was a fantastic system because it had the built-in hard drive native to it, right? And so, there was a lot of great games, but PlayStation 1 is getting my vote because it has more iconic franchises that spawned from it. 360 gave us Gears of War. That's about the franchises that started on there. I mean, yes, Halo continued on it, but yeah, PlayStation 1 really changed of what 3 graphics were able to do. 64 had some good games, but had a lot of bad ones.
I know you're right. And again, I'm agreeing on there. And it's like, okay, we're talking about like how amazing of a game that franchise was. PlayStation gets it next month.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the exclusivities are just non-existent on Xbox anymore.
Well, it's because they're focusing on Game Pass. They're winning on the Game Pass side.
That's very true. All right, so let's say along same PS1. PS1 is moving forward.
Yeah.
Next,
ultimately, I changed my vote, and I'm going PS.
Yeah.
No way. We've got unanimity. Love it. See the connects. We're peace bringing people.
Look at all the Kinect stuff. I've looked at it. I can look at it right now. And you know what the Kinect cameras use for more than anything else? Ghost hunting.
I see where you went there, but they said Canuck.
All right, so PlayStation 1 is moving forward. Next up is the Atari 2600 versus the Nintendo Wii U.
Oh God. Oh fuck. The Wii U was so bad. At least the Atari 2600 is fucking iconic. We're going with the Atari 2600 for sure.
Yeah, had you not had you in the picture, just a regular Wii, maybe the OG, like maybe that would have tipped the scales from the iconic perspective. But yeah, I have to agree.
Yeah.
God, the Wii U is so bad.
The Vita sold more than the Wii U. That's
the Vita. Wow, that's a throwback.
PS Vita. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I said earlier on that the older stuff tends to be better, but there's a selection bias here.
No, exactly.
Like PS Vita, someone brought up, that is not better than anything, and that's old. So it doesn't always hold.
You know what? The PS Vita had some decent games. It wasn't a decent system, but it had some decent games.
Yeah, their thing was like, hey, you can use micro SD cards. Great. Only our branded ones. Sons of bitches.
That's Sony in general, though. That's what Sony does.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, I think the Atari 2600, are the games fantastic. If you never played the Atari 2600, and if I sat my kids down in front of it, they'd probably play the Wii U more than 2600.
And it's more because the Wii U had more modern titles. It has nothing to do with it being a better console. Like just the Atari 2600 is. I mean, it's one of those consoles. It was a game changer console.
It was, like I said, not to get too geeky. They did steal the cartridge from someone else, so they were not the first cartridge-based console.
Right.
Fairchild Channel F was, which does not get any love. It's just a footnote in history at this point in time. But yeah, the Wii U, like I said, 2600 for Say Wong. I hated the gamepad for the Wii U, but you can see what came after the Wii U was the Switch, which was just, you guys really liked that handheld we did, right? No, here's the system. And the next one, the same thing. Fuck you.
I promise you it's worth it.
Yeah.
Buy
So
our console.
Yeah.
I have a question. When you plug in some of your older consoles, do you have a way of upscaling the image to the larger TVs that we have today, or how do you make that work?
I can capture every console to my PC. and do it through
Oh,
10
okay.
and go to 1080 or 4K through any console.
Oh, okay. Not bad. That works.
Yes.
That's really good.
There are expensive upscalers that exist. I have one of those expensive upscalers, so you're able to do it. But I also modded all my older consoles to be able to, they're old composite jacks or UHF, coax essentially. That's staticky as all hell. But you can there's mod chips you can solder them in and just take the signal off and the sound. That you can have composite, and then you just upscale that into 4K HDMI. I can play my Laserdisc player at 4K.
Oh,
That's pretty smart, actually, the way you did that.
But whether you can and then whether you should is like two different questions, right? Yeah.
It's the
Pretty
only version of the Star Wars trilogy that you can buy at home that is unaltered on
Interesting.
Laserdisc.
I did not know that.
VHS was not the original theatrical release.
Okay.
Only Laserdisc.
And only because, well, if we're jumping into it, it's because when VHS came out, it had A New Hope on it. And the original version only said Star Wars.
Interesting.
Oh.
That's a pretty good fun fact there. That's a
Dude,
good
we're fucking
trivia
nerds,
question.
man.
Yeah.
Like, when I say we're nerds, I mean,
We're nerds. We're nerds. Like I said, that I go to, like I said, with you talking about emulation, all that stuff with systems. If I can play it, the original system, I'm playing the original system every single time.
Yeah.
So it sucks because you can't save state, you can't save, but it's authentic to yell at your computer screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we have the original Xbox versus the Neo Geo home arcade. Whether you want to do the 10-pound ones or the CDs, the same Neo Geo system. I know where Phil is going to go. He wants to put his X in the box.
but you're going Neo Geo?
I don't know, because Neo Geo was the cartridge that we had, the AES versus MVS, is the only way that you can play the Neo Geo arcades at home, and it was the best port possible.
Yeah. We're not in 360 territory anymore, right? That's the only thing.
No, we're talking original Xbox at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was ready to dish out the hate earlier, but with the classic Xbox on the table, I mean that was the start of a huge era, right? Transformative. Microsoft even in the gaming space, think about the implications in terms of what gaming looks like now.
Yeah,
The RTS games they released.
It's true. That's true. Oh yeah, that's true.
It reinvigorated the console wars, mainly just because Sony was dominating at that point when they came out with the Xbox.
Yeah. And remind me, was it around 2000, 2001, the Xbox?
Yeah. The Xbox was 2000.
Yeah.
The PS2 was 2001, and the GameCube was 2002.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and just they changed everybody's perspective on things when Halo came out, because that's where they really started messing with in-game AI.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I mean, this is all just bringing me back to that era, man.
So you guys say the Xbox?
It's gonna be Xbox for me.
I mean, Xbox versus Neo Geo. Yeah, I go Xbox.
I guess.
Omar?
I always whenever it's an older versus a newer, I always feel so sympathetic to the older one. It's not a fair fight, so you want to root for the underdog. But
Now also keep in mind that we are deep into this. We're
are we?
This, yeah.
Okay, so then I don't feel so bad if this is the end of the line for Neo Geo.
Yeah, PS1 got it earlier. That was the old versus.
If it makes you feel better, the Neo Geo beat out the Xbox One in the first round.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. I can understand that though, right? Again, because you have to think about legacy and impact and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I said I love my Neo Geo just because I love arcade cabinets to no end. In the Chicagoland area, if you haven't been to the Galloping Ghost, which is the suburb. It has 1,500 arcade cabinets and 800 pinball machines.
That's crazy.
And it costs you a whole $15 for replay for the entire day.
Oh my god! Next time I'm in Chicago,
I'm booking my
yeah,
flight.
The home of Midway Games.
Yeah, it's absurd. I've been watching them grow for years there because it's
so
not
cool.
that it's about a 30-minute drive for me, and it's just I love it. Like I could spend all day there. And you're like, hey, you ever want to beat the the Dungeons and Dragon games? Now you can with free play. You have to put in $50 with quarters.
That's awesome. I love that. I kind of worry sometimes. Like I don't know if you think this through, but like we're that generation that could appreciate the old and the new. And I think about a lot of this, like when I geek out with some of that synth stuff, right? Like I'm playing musical instruments, which are like 40, 50 years old. And I worry like what's going to happen when the people who could actually repair this stuff, which is definitely not me, like when they're not repairing that gear anymore. And like same with consoles, right? Like same with arcade machines. Like when that knowledge goes away, it'll exist in a manual and YouTube videos like somewhere, but practically speaking, I don't know, it kind of worries me a little bit.
So that you think that would be a problem, but like I said, for my Fairchild Channel F, I worked with someone in Norway to make a cart that has all the games on it. So I have like an EverDrive so I can put in the Fairchild Channel F. So, and it's not, that came out in 1975.
Yeah.
And I was able to get this, 47 years later. And it's the community, the electronic community, and the ability to like, this is not hashtag not sponsored, like PCB way, you're able to make your own PC ports. So there's ways for people to keep it alive. And you have other companies making all these controllers like, oh, this has controller rot or the D-pad's horrible. There's still that gaming community. And the older stuff, quite honestly, Europe has a lot of people dedicated to that community to keep that going here.
Gives me hope.
Yeah.
A new hope.
All right. So Xbox is moving forward. I know Neo Geo's say Wong's. Next up is Sega's last system, the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Versus the Super Nintendo.
Ooh.
Okay, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Well, if you know what you're picking, then I'd love to hear it because I don't know.
I only remember playing a Dreamcast a few times, but I do remember playing one, and I remember thinking it was like way beyond for its time. Like I remember recently looking into like the Dreamcast, and I'm like, man, it was that old. Like I thought it was more recent than it was, and I don't know. There was something about that playing experience, which for me, and it's like a personal thing that I'm clinging to, which made it really special. Obviously, NES classic, but like, was that? I don't know, if you pit it against the Dreamcast, I think for me, just based on my personal playing experience between the two, I would probably go with Dreamcast. But that could be controversial.
Earlier, you were saying that you valued the legacy of the future systems that came after.
I do.
Well,
but Dreamcast, it's like the legacy that never was.
You
know what I mean? Like it was their last system. They could have done more. They didn't. Like
all the PS Vitas that never were.
Like it's like clinging on to something that just never was. It's almost like a legacy. Yeah.
Say
you might have swayed my vote with that little speech there. That was pretty good.
I don't know. Like again, but I have like such limited playing experience with the Dreamcast versus the NES. I would play with a lot. So I don't know.
Yeah. I say Wong's talking 2K Sports, Sonic Adventure, arcade ports, Shenmue 1 and 2. I mean, it did have House of the Dead with the light gun. It had Time Crisis. It had Crazy Taxi. So once again, Sega really ported their halfy arcade stuff into the Dreamcast. And there's one thing that made the Dreamcast fail. And it was the ability to burn CDs.
That's right.
It had no copyright protection, and they go, when it was made, a CD burner was $1,000. They went, who's ever going to be able to afford one of those?
Yeah.
And as soon as you're able to do it, I can tell you, as soon as I got a CD burner, I burnt every game possible with the Dreamcast. You know, I even was able to load Super Nintendo games, and the Dreamcast emulated that system on itself.
Wow. All right, I'm fully actually really convinced. And you also mentioned Crazy Taxi, which is like a great throwback.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in.
But like I said, I will counter argue too. Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, 2 and 3 to the non-Japanese people, and we had Mario, the first Mario Kart game. We had Super Mario World, which really changed the game of it. Chrono Trigger. There's a lot of classic games on the Super Nintendo too, but I said the library is about 776 games, and I always argue this with that big of library, maybe 10% are good.
Yeah.
Is there 100 fantastic games on Super Nintendo? I don't know if there's a full 100 myself. I love the Dreamcast. That was probably the first, other than 64. That was probably the first system I bought new.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
But I don't know. I love Dreamcast no end. But Super Nintendo, they're like Mega Man X is my jam. I can play Mega Man X in my sleep. I should learn the speedrun just because I've learned that game inside out back in the days of, oh, where's this E-Tank? There's no internet. There's no game facts. You had to talk to your people on the schoolyard. You go, this is where we think it is. And they're like, well, you found it. And you go, bullshit.
Well, you talk to people, and also, like, did you ever buy those guides as a kid? Because I did, like magazines and then books and stuff. Yeah.
So, ultimately, though, like I said, I love Dreamcast. I'm going Super Nintendo. It is easily NES is classic, but Super Nintendo is the heavy hitters and really the dawn of RPGs. What do you think, Phil?
So we're saying Super Nintendo
versus Dreamcast.
Just Dreamcast. I don't know. I like my intuition always says go SNES.
The SNES.
Go the SNES.
I think we're.
I love Dreamcast. Don't get me wrong. I love the Dreamcast. I wasn't. There wasn't very many consoles that I had as a kid, but I mean, Dreamcast was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely adored the Dreamcast. It was a great console.
Yeah. So along saying the PS2 came out when no one's able to make a DVD copy. That's true. However, it wasn't natively able to play the burnt DVD when people were able to do it. They're like, DRM? What's that?
Who needs that?
Yeah. And it did come with a modem. But no, if you both Omar and Sharon are voting for Dreamcast and so say along, Dreamcast is moving forward.
Hey.
I am shocked.
Wow, we ruined your whole bracket.
I wouldn't say you ruined it. It just, different perspective, and I respect it.
Yep.
Good.
All right. Well, we have to do this last one. I know we're at time, but because these two gentlemen are here with us, this is gonna be interesting. The PC versus the Nintendo Switch.
Oh shit.
Oh.
So as we said earlier, PC Masterclass.
Yeah, I mean,
he's like, yeah, no, there's no competition. PC Masterclass.
One is Waffle House and one is Fridays.
Oh god, TGI Fridays doesn't even exist in the US anymore.
Oh, I'm aware. There's a reason for that.
It's called millennials. Wow.
PC all the way for us. I mean, that was the introduction.
Yeah.
For both of us, I think. Yeah.
So Phil,
I like the Switch. Don't get me wrong, but the versatility of PC no console comes close to. There's not a console on the market that can keep up with what PC does. Can we agree on that?
Okay, so let me throw this at you. The Steam Deck, the Asus ROG, is that PC or a console?
The Steam Deck?
Mm-hmm.
The Steam Deck would be... I would consider that a console.
Because why? Because it plays Steam?
No,
So then, by theory, Xbox would be a PC.
No, because the reason I can consider it a console is because it's not as moddable as a PC would be.
You're saying because the Steam Deck is not as moddable?
Not as moddable as a PC, no.
So you're saying it's a console?
That the Steam Deck is a console? Yes. You're saying
Okay.
the Steam Deck is a console that runs Steam as its operating system.
Yeah, you can throw Windows on it.
Yeah, but I mean, like the whole thing, it's not a moddable system the way that a PC, like, oh, you know what? I want to play XY game, so I'm going to go and get a new graphics card for it.
Right.
You can just mod the shit out of it. Plus, if you were to go and max out a PC, you know, there are things you can do even with all these games that exist that you can't do on a console.
Depends. It depends. Pretty much anything I can do on a PC, I can do to the current gen console too.
I don't know, man. Anti-aliasing and some of the ways that that certain like not add-ons, but like things that you can do on PC, like you can't do the same things on PC that you can do on a console.
Also, like, let's come back to the question here, right?
Uh-huh.
We're comparing Switch party versus LAN party. What wins, right?
Oh, fucking LAN party all day, dude.
Come on, come on.
But yes, but you see that you're gonna step right into the fault of things is that when you're going against people, you're only as good as your system with the PC versus Switch. Everyone's playing the same.
I mean, that is the advantage to a console is that
Yeah,
it's a bit of pay to play there,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
or pay to win.
Yeah.
Well, okay. What if we, just to try and balance this a bit, if it was Switch versus like a very old PC or a very underpowered PC that's like struggling to kick along, what
You got your Black Friday deal from Best Buy for $200 PC.
that is not a gaming PC.
Or actually, maybe before we even go there, whatever the Switch costs, remember we should be thinking of a PC for the same cost to make that fair, right?
That's true. That's
so
a
is
good
that
point.
so? How would those machines stack up against each other?
Yeah.
Because gaming PCs get extremely expensive,
So
you can't really compare that.
You have $300 to build your gaming PC.
Yeah.
You have $300 to build your gaming PC. You lose every time.
Yeah, and this is we're bringing this up because this is always the argument of PC Master Race. People go, well, I can do this, but you know what? Most people can't. Just like you can say I can mount a system all day. I can do the same thing to a PC. People can't always do both. Most people buy their PC and they're like, oh, I'm spending $1,200 for this PC, and what do? I need a new one. It's no different to a console to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's, like I said, it's just interesting because you have that. That's why I said the Asus ROG and stuff like that, because is that technically a PC? It is, because there's not games made specifically for it. And that's always that's my definition of a console versus a PC, is if that's the only way to play that game because it only exists for that hardware.
I don't know. I said it was a Waffle House Fridays thing. Maybe it's more a Waffle House Denny's thing. I'm like, my heart is.
I'm sticking with PC. There's
Oh yeah,
Thinking about what I
because okay, to bring it back,
Mhm.
maybe they shouldn't be looked at as the same price point because most households need a PC anyway for their
Uh-huh.
daily life. So really, if you were to just take, let's say that cost of the Switch should be the upgrade to the PC, not the PC itself. If you want to be fair about it, because the person with the Switch still has to buy the Best Buy PC for their.
Sure, they've
home.
already got a PC, yeah. So we're actually, I don't know, maybe this is a
It's
Friday.
still PC Master Race.
I would say in my house. And remember, I'm a computer guy for my day job
What he does for daily.
for a living. I have more Switches than PCs.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Because myself personally, I have the base Switch, I have a modded Switch, I have the OLED Switch. Two of my kids have a Switch, my wife has a Switch.
There is something to be said about that, right? Like just the portability of it, the accessibility of it. Like you bring it anywhere, bring it on a plane. Like, it's, you know.
Say Wong asks why? Why what? Why do my kids have their own stuff? Do you not have kids, Say Wong? So they don't break my
Say Wong
shit.
is my kid.
They break it. That's their problem, not my problem.
Say Wong is another childless millennial.
Okay. Why so many Switches? Say Wong. Base model, OLED, modded. If I have a modded system, I keep an original one around too. That's why.
Versus PC, same old good Michelin star PC.
See, here's the thing: is you can go and buy that $300 PC. That, I mean, depends on how bad of a shitty system you get, but I mean, like, for the most part, most PCs you can mod.
Laptops are much harder. Or if you have a Mac, it's called no.
Well, no, yeah. You know, that's why I specifically say PC. You know, technically, they're all personal computers, but I mean, like, you know, when we say PC, we typically mean, you know, Windows-based moddable computer.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, so that's the thing, is that you can go and start off with that base model shitty computer as long as it has a decent processor in it, and you can add a better cooling system. You can overclock the system if you know what the fuck you're doing. You can add better RAM depending on the limitations that the motherboard has. Like, I mean, you know, there's so much more that you can do with the PC. And again, you know, remember back in the day, this is bringing us back to the early 2000s. But back in the day, everybody's goal was to fucking play Crysis on your PC.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, what mods do I need to get in order to make it so that I can play fucking Crysis?
Yep. Why
You know?
so many Switches? Say Wong.
Say Wong is obsessed with the amount of Switches that you have.
Yeah.
PC for me.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on. Someone said I had a whole bunch of PCs in my household. Nobody would question why. That's just understandable. But you have a bunch of Switches, all of a sudden people are like, why do you have so many Switches?
Why do
So
you
I
have so
think
many Nintendos in your house? Right.
the fact that it's like a little bit questionable that you have that many Switches,
Yeah, it's sus. Yeah.
I think it means that the
He said
PC
it's
is winning. Because it's understandable. People have lots of PCs. Like, who wouldn't? You know?
Well, why does every person have their own phone?
I was
Well,
gonna
maybe-
say, especially modders, because modders will usually have like fucking 4 or 5 computers sitting around just for no reason.
I mean, maybe.
Do you have phones in your bracket?
No.
Yeah, we didn't consider mobile gaming at all.
No. The UA is not on his. So, all right. Well, we're at past time, but
We are
that's where we'll end the bracket for today.
for the day. We're still not at the end of this fucking bracket, man.
Nope.
We're just to give everybody an idea, where are we as far as recap on this?
Okay, so let me get back into that. So I mean, let's face it. We did last year was the summer of Marvel, and there was 4 brackets for the entire summer. Just to throw that in perspective. So next up, we're getting to our final 8. So last up will be the Sega Genesis versus the PlayStation 3.
Okay.
And then we'll kick it back off. We'll have the NES versus the PS2. It's going to be the PS1 versus Atari 2600. The Xbox versus Dreamcast. And then it'll be PC versus whoever wins after that. Which is going to be funny, is that when PC wins, the overall bracket for best console.
That will be pretty funny.
But that's how our chat goes. That's how our brackets go.
Yeah, our chat tends to do that.
If I said the special edition Star Wars version of the console, like, oh, that one's going to win.
And Star Wars related automatically wins every bracket.
Yes, well, not anymore because chat has been banned from allowing to have Star Wars in any brackets anymore.
So let me move a couple things around here.
And yes, when we get past this bracket, we will be going into the best trilogies of all time.
Ooh,
That's a good one.
Heads up for everybody on here, guys. Everybody that listens to us and watches our show and does everything. When Back to the Future gets there, everybody vote for Back to the Future just to piss off Graveyard. Graveyard hates that movie.
I do.
those movies.
Yeah.
Which I do not understand because they are great movies.
There's no need for me to be this big here. There you go.
But yes, before we get going, ladies and gentlemen, Star Wars is in the bracket.
It's not a trilogy.
If you count just the original Tridge, it is.
Nope. It's not in the bracket. I'm telling you that right now.
Because there's fucking 9 mainstream mainline movies. So yeah, it's
and I want to see what's next best after Star Wars. Okay.
Yeah. Arguably, Star Wars is the greatest trilogy of all time. So
I don't know. I have Crocodile Dundee on this list.
Crocodile, a Noth. This is a Noth. All right. Well, guys, before we get going, one more time, please give us all of your pluggables. Let everybody know where they can find you. Everything that you guys want to plug right now.
Yeah, thank you again so much for having us. This was super fun. Raging Kingdoms on Instagram. That's the best place. You can find our other socials from there, but just search Raging Kingdoms on Instagram. You'll find us. You'll see a lot of fun content.
Awesome. Real quick, Graveyard, before I have you go on, let me find the page that I have your shit on.
I like. Oh, before I do that, DeLong's fam says Star Wars is a trilogy of trilogies, except
he's not wrong. That is actually correct.
Whoa! We're Solo and Rogue One. That's making it not a trilogy of trilogies because there's 2 more movies in there.
Yeah, but those are also supposed to be offshoot movies. They're not supposed to be parts of the main line.
That's not a trilogy then. There's more in it. All right, you ready now?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. I am Graveyard, co-host of the Mostly Pod at Night Mostly podcast.
They mostly
Pod.
at night. Mostly.
And I just realized I forgot to edit the one that's supposed to release an hour and 15 minutes ago.
Oh,
so that'll be
man.
releasing
I'm not gonna
tomorrow.
have shit to listen to tomorrow on the drive.
It'll be done tonight. Like I said, it's just life is chaotic right now. So make sure to check us out on all social media at Pod Out at Night and check out Conversations in the Void, where we talk to people in the horror industry and talk all the weird shit that we can on it. So check it out.
Absolutely. So ladies and gentlemen, let's switch this camera here.
Please.
So please take it off of my face now, please. Ladies and gentlemen, you can connect with us on all the social media places on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Never calling it X. Still don't know why we have Twitter, but when it's there, it's just a website full of trolls. It's terrible. Twitch, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, Discord, MySpace, Blue Sky, Vine, GeoCities, Friendster, Second Life, AIM, Farmers Only, Christian Mingle, OnlyFans. It's only pictures of Aaron Watson's feet and Mandels the beard, Jamez's glasses, sitting on a table and just judging you for not buying all of our new merch. Because that's right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got merch. People, merch. 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 But of course, from there, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like us to break up with your boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, pet, schoolyard bully, annoying neighbor, or just tell us how much you enjoy us, hate us, or wish the internet would consume us completely and spit us out at the feet of the entire trilogy of Back to the Future so Graveyard can writhe in pain. You can send us an email at intsnerding@aol.com and we will read it live on air, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and that is real. That is really our email address. We specifically got an AOL address just so we can make that joke. America Online. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it from us. It'll be done when I install the attenuator. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it from us. It is now time for the dance party. We will see everybody on Tuesday because I'm not going to be doing a game stream this Saturday because I'm going to be in Idaho. So
and no geek game night tomorrow night.
That's right. No geek game night tonight. Tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back next week. Are we doing Jeopardy or are we doing?
Well, really?
Oh, we doing well, really? That's going to be a good time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, catch us next week. We are going to be playing a good, hearty game of Well, Really, which makes all of us look absolutely terrible and like we're not nerds at all. So it's fun. It's self-deprecating. Let's keep it going. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it from us. Let's get this going. Show them, Graveyard. Show them. Happy little trees.
Distant nerding.
Hey, look, it's Canadian's greatest treasure.
Celine Dion?
We'll see everybody next week.
Bye.